Hi everyone! Today we're going to make two different kinds of terrariums. The first one I'm going to make is going to be with seeds. The second one I'm going to make is going to be with plants. Now, I did put something that's optional in there, and that would be moss. You put moss in your terrarium depending on how long you want to keep the terrarium. First, you'll want to clean out your container and slice off the top of your container. I actually found a really big container that I'm going to use that isn't pictured, but you'll see it as I go on. Next thing you want to do is add your rocks and dirt. So now I put some stuff in there, and then I want my seeds to grow plants around them. So I'm going to put a little hole there and drop my seed in. Make another little hole, drop my seed in. And then once I have all my seeds placed, I'll cover them up with dirt because I know where they are, and then I can put anything else I want around it as a decoration. As you can see, I made a little person type fairy. I made one with these materials, and then I made another one that looks like a boy with just popsicle sticks, but using generally the same materials. I layered my terrarium was with stones first, then the soil, and then everything else on top of that you want as your decorations after you put your seeds in. The next one I made, you can see I made a monster, and I did the same thing with this. I put my stones in first, I put in the dirt, I decorated the outside, and in the end I ended up putting a lid on both of these just for 2 days, so it might get a jump start on the growth of the seeds. I started this project on the 13th, and you'll see as the days progress how long it took for my seeds to grow. And eventually with my seeds, they got so long at one point that the container couldn't even hold them anymore, as you can see with the monster. And then in my other container that was like this big pretzel bin, it did not do as well for some reason. I'm not sure why it did not do as well. You'll need to spray your plants daily or every other day just to see how the moisture is in them. You don't want them really wet, but you don't want them really dry either. You'll see that in the end, my plants did wilt a little bit on the last day that I decided to take them out. And I ended up replanting them someplace else in the ground, hoping that they'll grow again. But they were had gotten too big for my containers. The next one I did, you'll see, is that I actually ended up putting a layer of moss in this one. You can see that I did the layer of rocks first, then the moss. And I showed you two different kinds of moss that may work for you. This will help it from smelling and get moldy smelling. It'll also retain some water for the plants to grow. Then I put the dirt over the moss, and then I added in my plants with all my decorations. And here you can see the end result. And then I added some plants to my monster one, along with the moss. You can't see the moss as well in this one because I do have the monster drawn on it. For some hair, I put in some plants that I had around the house, and then I put some fake flowers in it to give it a little look of like a girl monster. So a few things I want to go over for the terrarium is that the containers you use, make sure you cut it or get a container that is wide enough for you to put all your items and materials in. So when you're looking for soil or dirt, you can just use soil from the ground or dirt from the ground, or you can get a bag of soil. Either will work. You want rocks of different sizes. The rocks, if they're different sizes, will fill the bottom and give it a nice layer, a little better than it would if rocks were all big compared to big and small. You can use any seeds you want. It doesn't matter. They'll still grow. Spray bottle, you can use any kind of spray bottle you want as long as you clean it before you put the water in it. As far as plants go, you really can put any kind of plant you want in there too, as long as it fits in there. I chose plants that had smaller roots, so this way I didn't have to have a huge container to fit the root system in. So the plants I took were right from my yard. So I did have a little trouble with the lid for the monster because it was drying out too easily and then it was staying too moist. So I did put the lid half on and half off for a few days after I took the lid off the bigger terrarium to see how it would grow. And it did do very well in the end. As far as the moss goes, there's those two different kinds you can use, remember, and it's to keep the terrarium from smelling. That's the main reason you want to use that. If you're planning on keeping this for a long time, you'll want to put the moss in to keep it from smelling. It also will retain some water too, so you won't have to water your plants or seeds as much because it'll retain some of that water to bring to the soil. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I really hope that you're going to want to make a terrarium with your family or friends. I'd love to see the results. Thank you so much.